The record will now be corrected. Fiona Bruce.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. The International Alliance for Freedom of Religion or Belief is just 2 years old this month, and it's a growing group of 35 countries. I'm pleased to say 2 more have just joined. Each country has a government-appointed representative, such as myself, the Prime Minister's Special Envoy for Freedom of Religion or Belief, and the UK has the privilege of chairing this alliance in 2022. It's an active network of like-minded countries committed to advancing freedom of religion or belief around the world. In 2020, Ukraine was a country which early committed to the principles and membership of the alliance, a commitment which cannot be lightly given nor automatically accepted. Our principles are on the OPFA Alliance website. It's been my privilege as chair of the alliance to work with alliance country representatives, and I want to put on record my appreciation of the Ukraine's active commitment to the work of the alliance, a commitment which so often includes working for the freedom of others in countries around the world. As our Prime Minister has said today, as Russia invades your borders, Ukraine, we are with you. We are praying for you and your families, and we are on your side. Indeed, we are on your side in your passionate belief that the people of Ukraine should be just as free to live by the principles of the OPFA Alliance, which you, as a country, are committed to championing for others across the world. Indeed, I believe that the OPFA Alliance is one of those alliances referred to by the Chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, and I thank him for his interest in this alliance, which has greater potential to work for the common good across the world. As our Prime Minister has said in this place, we all know that wherever freedom of belief is under attack, other human rights are under attack as well. And sadly, violations against freedom of religion or belief are increasing across the world, and not least due to the unwarranted abuse of state power. And in this regard, I turn now from Russia to China. The Sino-British Joint Declaration was registered in 1985 with the UN as a legally binding international treaty intended to remain in force for 50 years. Yet, as we all know, over the past few years, and we're all too familiar with the overt restrictions on rights, on the encroachment on rights to human rights on mainland China, but over the past 3 years, Hong Kong's freedoms, democracy, human rights and autonomy have been rapidly and dramatically dismantled, and the rule of law increasingly undermined. One by one, we have seen basic freedoms destroyed with the imprisonment of protesters, legislators and journalists, the closure of almost all independent or pro-democracy media outlets, and threats to academic freedom. But until recently, arguably one of the few remaining freedoms that was not overtly affected was freedom of religion or belief. But there are now increasing reasons to be concerned. Over the past 2 years, since the imposition of the draconian national security law, there have been numerous examples of freedom of religion or belief in Hong Kong coming under pressure. In 2020, the Hong Kong Catholic Diocese discouraged lay Catholics from organising a public prayer campaign for the city, and the Apostolic Administrator at the time, Cardinal John Tong, issued a letter to all Catholic clergy urging them to be careful in their sermons. His exact phrase was, "Watch your language." Also that year, Hong Kong police raided the premises of Good Neighbour North District Church, and HSBC froze the bank accounts of the church and its pastor. More recently, just at the end of last month, the pro-Beijing newspaper Ta Kung Pao carried 4 articles attacking the church, containing a specific critique of Hong Kong's Bishop Emeritus, Cardinal Joseph Zen, alleging that many of the protesters in 2019 were educated in Christian schools and accusing churches of being behind the protests, and calling fresh government regulations to control religious institutions. As experts have noted, when the Chinese Communist Party regime intends to launch a new campaign or crackdown, it often trails it in pro-Beijing media first, so these articles in Ta Kung Pao are ominous. Let us also remember that many of those currently in prison, including several whom I've had the privilege of meeting, are people of faith, jailed not directly because of their faith, but because of their courageous struggle for democracy, freedom and human rights, and motivated often by their faith. While the threats to freedom of religion or belief in Hong Kong currently may be much more subtle than those in some other countries, and not today in the same fierce spotlight, there is no reason to be complacent. Indeed, it is all the more reason to call out these early warning signs and monitor the situation ever more closely.